criminal justice, healing, education. Good morning, afternoon, evening, however, or whenever you are listening and or watching. You guys should know me by now, but if you guys don't, my name is Holly Berry. I am the lovely host of this podcast called Morning Mimosas, where we empower the Black and minority communities through wellness, justice, and wisdom. Guys, today we have a wonderful, wonderful treat. I know it's 4th of July, but but I'm not too worried about that because we have our own firecracker. We have our own fireworks going on today, and it's our guest, Ms. Ruby Jones. But before we bring her on to the show, let's play a quick commercial from our partner, Ganell's Crafts.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening. It is Auntie Harley. I am the owner of Ganell's Crafts, where we make handmade crochet items from our family to yours. There are two ways that you can get a handmade item from Ganell's Crafts, and I'm going to tell you about them. The first way, and the easiest way, is to just pick from our available now inventory. We have items like this awesome floppy hat and other items that are available as is, ready for sale immediately. However, you might want something a little bit more custom, like this beautiful red dress. No problem, we got you. You would just fill out an order form, also located on our Instagram page, and we will complete your order. Something to note about a custom order is that custom orders are to be paid for in full before we get started, so we can get the materials for you and we can pay the laborer ahead of their labor. If you mention Morning Mimosas at the end of your checkout or at any point during your purchase, you get $10 off your total. So shout out to Holly for that continued partnership and support. If you want to place an order with Ganell's Crafts, we are open year round. There are only 2 months of the year where we do not take orders. July, because me, the owner, that's my birthday, and December, where we honor our fallen sister and the name of our company, Ganell Crafts. Other than that, order away. We are available now. Have a great day.
Guys, that is Ganell's Crafts. As you guys know, they're currently on hiatus because it's the owner's birthday. So, birthday month, I should say. But, guys, let's bring on the fireworks for this 4th of July, Miss Ruby Jones. But you guys know how we do here on Morning Mimosas, right? We have to welcome her the proper way, which is...
Love it.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the show, Miss Jones. We are so grateful to have you on the show today.
Good morning. I'm so happy to be here. And can I say, I love Ganell's Crafts. I've been looking at crochet items. I'm excited.
Thank you. Yeah, she is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Guys, as you guys know on this show, we care about the person first. So we're going to go ahead and ask Miss Jones to introduce herself before we get into the questions we have for her today.
Oh, wow. I'm Ruby Jones. I am the CEO and president of Empower Media Exchange. We're an media-based nonprofit. We deal with media literacy and we publish news. I'm also the CEO of Prison Business Services. So I provide brand development support and marketing communications support. I am a mom of 8. I am from Colorado originally. I've traveled around, and I'm just really thrilled to be here.
And we are so happy to have you on the show today, Ms. Jones. Thank you for that introduction. So, guys, we're going to hop right into today's episode. So, this episode, we're going to focus on grassroots media, community storytelling, and, of course, the thing that we care about the most, which is people's mental health. So, the first question is going to be on grassroots media as healing. So, you've built Empower Media Exchange on the idea that media should be an exchange rather than an extraction. How does the act of helping someone from a marginalized community tell their own story serve as a form of individual or collective mental health healing?
Wow. So, looking back at the history of media, the history of information sharing and communication, I think it's just so important for people to be able to express themselves openly, to share what's going on in their community, to share what's going on with them personally. I think back to when I was young and I would look at publications that I saw myself in, Essence Magazine and some other local magazines. And it was so important for me to see myself because it taught me that I could do anything. I could be that teacher that I saw on the page. I could be that reporter that I saw on the news. So, representation, I think, is really important when it comes to mental health, but again, just being able to share what's happening. We have so many local organizations and people doing amazing work in our communities, and giving them a platform to share the work they're doing without paywalls, without preferential treatment, without the expense of having to advertise all the time. It's really important. How do people in the community know what's going on if they don't have a platform to share what's going on? So I think about organizations that deal specifically with mental health. And because the work that they're doing is so important and their practitioners are often really busy, adding marketing and adding communications into the work that they do is a big lift sometimes, but it's so necessary for the transformation that they're making to be communicated with the people that want to hear it. They want to hear that there's support. They want to hear that there are people that care about what they're going through. And so just, I think that media is a great way of connecting people. It should be an exchange. It shouldn't be extractive. It shouldn't be obstructive. It goes both ways. And we already have the platforms built in, especially now. There's so many resources and technological advances that allow people to communicate with each other. Media needs to be a tool and not um, gate kept.
That is such a powerful way to frame journalism. I absolutely love that. Have you seen a specific moment where giving someone the microphone changed their outlook on their own situation or trauma?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, but I think that that's important when it comes to survivors of trauma, survivors of really hard situations. I do a lot of work with Warren Village, a transitional housing program in Denver. And I say myself personally because it was really me being able to take the microphone in my own hand and start to tell my story that was healing for me. But I've also watched so many parents who've come through that program who are given a platform to share what they've experienced, to share what they've learned. And it is healing. When you go through trauma, you a lot of times are ashamed. You think that you have to hide your story, you have to hide who you are, and it's really restrictive. Living through trauma and becoming a survivor, being on the other side of it, you should be so proud. You should be so um, just proud of yourself and know that you are a source of inspiration for others. But when you're scared to tell your story because you don't know if people care, you don't know if people will judge you, you don't know if it'll be more harmful to your mental health than helpful, that's a problem. When you are able to tell your story, it empowers you. That has a lot to do with the name of Empower Media Exchange. Communication is empowerment. And when you can speak to the things that you've been through, you help other people know that they can make it to the other side as well.
Thank you, Miss Jones. That is a everything that you're doing is absolutely amazing. So we're going to go ahead and go to question number 2, and this is specifically on media literacy and mental peace. So you teach digital defense and media literacy to help people navigate a world of misinformation. From a mental health perspective, do you think that our consistent consumption of digital media affects our anxiety? And what is one defense you use to stay grounded?
Ooh, that's a big question. Yes, I do. I look at social media and sometimes I just scroll through the comments and I am blown away by how people are communicating with each other. There's so much judgment. There's so much vitriol and hatred and just rudeness and disrespect. And even if you have an important message to share, it comes across either really wrong or people take it wrong. And I think we're constantly scrolling, we're constantly looking for information, and we're overloading ourselves. Our brain, can only process so much. And to think that we can just be like machines and process all this information without being affected is just frankly wrong. You know, back in my day, back when I was growing up, we didn't have all the social media. And so our communication happened differently. Now I think that people have kind of gotten used to this really quick snapshot of a statement. You say this and then you scroll past and you don't think about it anymore. But there are lingering effects. Anytime you say something, it not only affects the person that's on the receiving end, but it also affects you, right? Like, are you becoming a mean person? Are you becoming a bully online without even realizing it? Are you giving people the opportunity to express themselves and share their opinions and live their truth without feeling like they have 20 people under them telling them that they're wrong? That's not okay. I think when it comes to digital defense, there's so much misinformation. And now and that's because anybody can publish something on the internet. It's not like a super restricted space. You have to know how to process information, think critically, understand whether something is just solely opinion or if it is based on facts. Like in the scientific world, has it been peer reviewed? Is it just somebody saying, yes, this will happen if this, without really having the evidence behind it? So along with that, now we have AI, and we know that AI can, what's it called? Um, it's not delusional, it can hallucinate,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, yeah,
Yep.
so it can agree with you when you're wrong. It can tell you that something is a fact when it's purely fiction. And so we have to really double down when it comes to our critical thinking. But because our attention spans are quite limited with social media, it's like contradictory. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think anxiety, big, doom scrolling, big. And when you're online, you're not out in the world necessarily. Like, some people are really good at managing both, but some people are really used to just being online and scrolling all day. And so when you have less of that interaction, it's isolating, and that also can take a toll on your mental health.
I love that. So when you feel the digital overwhelm creeping in during your own workday, do you have a specific off switch, like a way to disconnect so you can remain present for your children and yourself?
That's a great question. I know you just asked it and I didn't answer it. Sorry.
It's
Yeah, I
okay.
go outside. Nature for me is the biggest wall between where I want to be and where I am. So if I find myself doing a lot of work on the computer, even if I'm just looking at a screen all day, or if I find myself on my phone or on social media a lot, I really try to step away and get some fresh air, get some sunlight. Just sitting outside on my porch for like 30 minutes, it changes my whole mentality and my mood. And it feels great taking a walk down the street. It feels really good. And I'm thankful my partner started being like, you know what? Go outside. You've been working too long. Cause I'll keep working. I'll just keep, I'm done with one thing, I'll go to the next. And it's like, no, take that break, get that fresh air, and then also reminding myself to be present. Being a mom, and especially a mom of many, I have people demanding my attention at all times. And when I am really stuck on tech, I have to remove myself, be present in the moment, not think about what needs to get done or what projects are next or what's on social media, who posted what, but what are my kids coloring? What did they make with Play-Doh? What do they need to learn today? What do they need from me? I think, the idea of a work-life balance is kind of outdated, right? There's really no way to have everything completely balanced. But when
Right.
you're thinking about like that work-life integration, you have to be able to give 100% on one side when you need to, but still find energy for the things that are important so they're not completely just abandoned while you narrow in and do work.
Thank you so much. So we're going to go on to question number three, and this is going to focus on vulnerability and advocacy. So you are incredibly open about your own journey, like you mentioned earlier, from your time at Warren Village to your upcoming essay collection on topics such as grief and mental health. Why is it essential for a grassroots leader to show the human side rather than just the professional side?
Mm. Wow. Going back to social media, we see these images of people that look perfect, right? They have it all together. They are successful. They are just doing their thing. And we internalize some of that. I think that's where like the imposter syndrome comes from, or our lack of courage, our lack of faith in ourselves because we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people. And my one of my favorite quotes is comparison is the thief of joy. When you're always looking at people on the other side of the screen, you think that you're not good enough. And I became a mom when I was really young. I was in college. I became a single mom right after I became a mom. So my journey has been really transformative. Um, you know, right away, I told myself that I never wanted to become a statistic. So I've always kind of fought against what I thought I should be doing in life, the expectations that I had for myself or that other people had for me, and those didn't line up with what my reality was. And I've come to realize, because I used to be really, really private. Nobody knew that I had kids. Nobody knew, anything really about me. They just saw me doing the work that I was doing, and they didn't know why it was so important to me to be doing that work. And I realized that some of the most empowering things that I'd encountered throughout my journey were stories from people who I admired that showed me that they weren't perfect, that they were human, that they were able to overcome obstacles and barriers. And so it made me realize that I could do it too. And I think my responsibility is to help other people. And that's why I tell my story now, to try to show people that they can do it. I've been through a lot. And if I can make it and not feel ashamed, not feel like there's no space for me, and continue to try to take up space, continue to make an impact, then anybody else can. We can't live in fear of people knowing who we are authentically. And so that I think that's one of my biggest strengths, is my just ability to be authentic. Um, and it's not always easy, but it's important.
I definitely understand that. So has being vulnerable ever felt risky to you? I'm curious if you have ever had to navigate the fear of being too open while still wanting to build trust and connection with your audience.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, even from like a private perspective, like I remember one time I was living at Warren Village, and I was doing work, and I was constantly at events and things like that, and nobody knew that I was at Warren Village. I was still in the middle of my journey and navigating so much and not really knowing how to put myself out there publicly. So it was really early on, and I remember I was at an event and somebody offered to give me a ride home. And I was like, "Mm, take me to my sister's house." And I had them just take me to my sister wasn't even home at the time, but I was like, "Yeah, don't take me home. I'll walk from there." They didn't know that I was gonna walk from there, but I told them that was my house. I didn't want them to know. I didn't want my story to be revealed yet. There's still some things about my story that I haven't told, and so sometimes it's funny navigating like the narrative that people have about you, knowing like a really small part of your life, and they don't understand how it fits into the big picture. And until you're ready to share the big picture, it's like you don't want to say too much, but you do want to tell people. It always felt like a risk to me to let people know that I had children. I felt like people wouldn't take me seriously. I felt like people would think that I had less capacity. And so now I'm at a point where it's like, no, I do 100 things, but I also am a mom. And, now I feel like because I've proven myself a little bit, their perception is different. They're like, "Oh, well, wow, how do you do all that?" But it's not like, "Oh, we're gonna judge her." And I think that was just something that mentally I had to overcome. It doesn't matter what people think of you. I was just looking online actually, and somebody said, that they have 3 children and they're about to have another and they're scared of what people would think. And it's like, forget those people. Who cares? Like, this is your life. This is your journey. Um, you do the best you can with this life and you make this life beautiful for you. As we see on social media, people are going to have an opinion either way.
That is so true. I'm sorry. I almost started crying when you told your story because it kind of mirrors mine right now. So yeah,
Mm.
I almost had a moment there. So I had to fall back. So I'm like, yeah, I I definitely understand that because that's me.
We all have those
Audience,
journeys.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're totally okay. Like, we all have those stories. We all have those journeys. Nobody is perfect. And life can be really challenging. There is no straight and narrow path. There's always going to be a detour or an obstacle that we have to get through. And when we share that with other people, it really does strengthen them. Like, whatever it is that you are going through that makes you think of my story, know that it was me crying on the other end of that. And I feel really fortunate now when I look back at some of the things that I've overcome or gone through, and it makes me even more passionate about reaching out to other people. When we talk about mental health, it's hard to go through things alone. And even feeling alone, you can be surrounded by a room full of people and feel completely alone. But there's somebody in that room that's been through the same thing. And if you can find each other, it changes the feeling that you're alone. It makes you feel like you're more supported because we all need that village.
That is so true. Oh my goodness. Ooh, yes. Ooh. Sorry, audience. Just give me a second to come back. Yeah, her story and my stories are very similar. So it just
Mm.
yeah. All right. As we're gonna go on to question number 4 though. So I want to make sure we keep it about Miss Jones. Question number 4 is about sustainable storytelling. So grassroots media is often heart work, not hard work, heart work. It is emotionally heavy because you're dealing with real people and real systematic issues. How do you ensure that your work remains a sustainable practice for you so you aren't just giving all of your energy away?
Mm. Wow. I really think that for me, journalism and media have always been a tool for connection. But some media outlets and some journalists and some platforms are more extractive than um, supportive. Instead of building relationship with the communities that they are going into and the people whose stories they tell, they just want the story, right? And I think that has a lot to do with, capitalism, and it has to do with the pressure to perform. Because I have always loved storytelling ever since I was a little girl. Like, I started in journalism when I was 8 years old. And back then it wasn't about the money. It was because it was something that I loved to do. And I felt like hearing people's stories always taught me something. So now when I think about grassroots journalism and grassroots media, it continues to be that for me. There's a lot of pressure to make money, but what's more important to me is trust. Knowing that if I'm sitting down across from somebody and talking to them, asking them questions, they understand that I actually care. I don't just want to increase my audience and tell their story and keep it moving. I truly do care. And so I try to focus on things that I really am passionate about. I'm passionate about health and wellness. I'm passionate about arts and culture. I'm passionate about entrepreneurship. So those are things that like I want to talk to people about because I want to learn from them. I think if you're just trying to extract the story, you're always going to overlook the entire purpose of it. And Holly, I hear you. You're saying that our stories are similar, and I want to hear your story. So I want to invite you to my podcast too. And part of my framework for all the work that I do is that it's real stories, it's real people, it's real purpose. Like that's at the heart of Empower Media Exchange. Um, Front Range Focus, which is our news platform. Our tagline is real stories, real people, real news. We don't just want to be surface level because that doesn't build community. That doesn't build connection. That potentially just gives me something to post. It just builds content. But we're all about community and connection.
I don't know if you were a pastor in your past life or something, but you are preaching to my soul today. I just needed to say that you are preaching to my soul because that's the same exact sentiment that I have. So Ms. Jones, you are preaching. You should add that to your resume, preacher.
I've always
Goodness.
wanted to preach. Like I grew up in Peaceful Rest Baptist Church, Peaceful Rest Missionary Baptist Church in Aurora, and I loved it. And I also grew up going to Pine Bluff, Arkansas every summer. I had family down there, and they were a church-going family. Like we would be in church from 7 in the morning to 7 at night. We would take a nap at the church and eat at the church and clean the church in between services. And I've always loved the idea of helping people, helping uplift people. And, if that is something that I feel called to do, I would be more than happy to do it. It- you know, there's always someone who offers advice, or there's always someone who can speak to your soul and speak power to whatever it is that you're going through. And I thank you for saying that that's me right now, because I take that very seriously. But I think it's important for everybody when it comes to mental health to be resourceful and find people who can speak power into you and remind you that you are important, that your story matters, that you can do whatever you set your mind to do.
Yes, 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 yes. My audience, I hope you guys heard everything she just said. She was dropping gems. Please pick them up. Please, please. Goodness. So we're going to go on to our final question of the day, which is on the future of community. So as you take on your new role with the Colorado's Women Hall of Fame and continue your work at the Power Media Exchange, what is the story that you're most excited to help other people tell over the year?
Hmm. I'm really excited to work intergenerationally. So, earlier this year, Empower Media Exchange was invited to join the Co-Generate Community of Practice. And that is Co-Generate is a national organization. They bring together people from all ages who feel strongly about incorporating intergenerational communication and work into what they're doing. And so then now we are part of the Co-Generate Voices Fellowship. So same organization, but our fellowship, our cohort has people from ages 12 to 81. You get a lot of differing perspectives when you sit down with people from 12 to 81. And I mean, people all the way through. So 12, 15, 17, 20s, 30s, 40s, all the way up to 80s. And it's so important to me that when it comes to media, communication, all these different platforms, all the work that we're doing, that every voice is heard. When we think about young people, often they're silenced, or because we're worried about the restrictions of like parental consent and things like that, we don't
Mhm.
trust the process of giving them a platform to talk about the things that are important to them.
True.
And when we look at older people, we're like, oh, they have so much wisdom. They've been through so much. They have experience. But oftentimes they feel very lonely. They feel very isolated. They feel like they're forgotten or that their voices aren't heard either. And then you have everybody in the middle who's just work, 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 really busy, wanting to make an impact. But all groups can make an impact. Younger people, older people can all make an impact. So I'm really excited about hearing stories from everyone, from every voice, from people who are younger, from people who are older. Right now, Empower Media Exchange is facilitating this community storytelling initiative I love, and I'm so proud of it. It's called CityStory Denver. And it allows people in Denver or people who work in Denver, people who have visited Denver to share a story about the city. And it doesn't have to just be like, oh, I love Denver Union Station. It doesn't have to just be that. It can be, I moved to Denver because I wanted to go to school, and this is how my life has changed, or this is what my family experienced. We experienced displacement. And the reason why we're still here is because, so we want to hear a broad range of stories from people of all ages, people from all walks of life. And we want that to become a living digital archive so that the stories, the people, and the voices that really shape what the city of Denver is can be collected and shared with future generations. So I just, I think that everybody's story is so interesting and unique. When you sit down with a stranger, you have no idea what they're going to say, but you always learn something new. You always find something out about somebody that you didn't know. You always find a connection point, and so I'm excited for that.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jones. So, just to wrap it up, I just have a magic wand question for you. So, if you had a magic wand and can change one thing about how our culture treats both mental health and local news, what would that shift look like in our neighborhoods?
Mm. I think that, excuse me, I don't want to sneeze. I think that, so there's two sides. Culturally, I think that it's important for diversity to be more embraced. And when I say that, I what I mean is that yes, the Black community is often seen as a monolith from outside, but we know that we're
Yeah,
not a monolith. I think we have
absolutely.
to do a better job culturally of being accepting of more types of us. So not choosing only to look at like entertainment, but not wanting to look at history, not choosing to only tap into media that is about one thing, but not another. I think we need to really broaden our horizons and support local organizations who are really doing great work to try to share both history and current events and all of that. But I think that that also requires effort on the side of like the organizations and the media platforms. We have to be better about being trustworthy if we want people's trust. And there's a lot of conversation recently about funding for local news. I'm not going to ask you to fund me if you don't care at all about what I'm doing, if you've never seen my work, but I
Right.
want to engage with people so that they participate in the process of creating the news for their community. And then I feel like it's worth supporting. And then I feel like we're building trust and building relationships. And then on the side of that, when you're thinking about not necessarily culturally, but from a funding perspective, it's so important to me that innovation is funded more. We see that there's so much messaging about what's happening with local media and news and how can it be sustainable. And so, we're giving money to these entities without really understanding the impact, without really understanding what their role is or how their role has changed with the economic changes, with the technological advances. Are they still relevant? I think we need to start funding projects that are more participatory, that are more innovative, that are based on entrepreneurship and creativity, because the future of journalism, or the future of media is the young people. It's people who are watching what's happening now and want to make changes. And I think when it comes to media and mental health, also to kind of bring that back full circle, we have to use public information wisely. It makes no sense to have a platform and tell lies, or you have a platform and be completely biased. We have to understand that our audience deserves ethical reporting, ethical media, and we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. So everybody has a responsibility, everybody has to work together. But I think that just being more acceptant and tolerant of things that we don't necessarily understand isn't going to go a long way, because the whole world is changing and we have to not necessarily change with it, but um, interact with the changes more responsibly. That makes sense.
That made perfect sense. And guys, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much, Miss Jones, for coming in here and being the fireworks that we needed this weekend. So appreciate you and your appearance today.
Thank
Guys,
you.
you're very welcome. Guys, we're going to get out of here. As you guys know, this is Morning Mimosas, where we empower the Black and minority communities through wellness, justice, and healing. We will see you guys soon. Ta-ta.
Bye.